I used other men to test his love. He passed by, leaving me. When I first met Alex, it felt like the universe had handed me a lifeline. My marriage to Michael had begun to feel like a chain, not a bond, heavy with routine and distance. It wasn't that Michael had changed, or that he was a bad person. On the contrary, he was everything that any woman could ask for: kind, hardworking, loyal, dependable. But after 5 years of being with him, I realized that he wasn't the man who once made my heart race. The spark had faded, and I felt suffocated by the monotony. I found myself craving something, anything, to reignite the excitement, the passion, the desire that I had once felt. I met Alex through work. He was younger, full of life, and filled with a kind of energy that was contagious. From the moment he smiled at me, I felt my heart skip a beat. He made me laugh in ways I hadn't laughed in years. When he talked to me, he listened, really listened, and made me feel like I was the most interesting person in the room. That attention, that genuine interest, was like a breath of fresh air. And the more I got to know him, the more I started to realize just how much I had missed that feeling of being desired, of being noticed. I told myself I was just enjoying the attention, that it didn't mean anything. I wasn't planning on leaving Michael, but I couldn't deny that something was missing in my marriage. The doubt started to creep in. I was jealous of the way Alex would look at me when he smiled, of how he would compliment me in ways that Michael no longer did. And the more I thought about it, the more I felt suffocated by my own insecurities. I began questioning myself, questioning my marriage, questioning everything. Was it me? Was I not enough for Michael anymore? Did I still have what it took to keep him interested, to keep his eyes on me and not on someone else? I wanted to know if Michael still cared. Not just the small gestures of affection we exchanged, but the kind of care that went beyond the ordinary, the kind that makes you feel special, cherished, wanted. I wanted proof. But instead of talking to him, instead of addressing my feelings and my fears directly, I did something I regret to this day. I tested him. It started off small, harmless, really. I would flirt with Alex when Michael wasn't around, just to see if he would notice. I'd change my appearance, wear something different, act distant. I'd pretend to be unavailable, just to see how Michael would react. If he noticed, if he cared enough to ask, I would know that I still mattered. But nothing happened. He didn't say anything. He didn't ask why I was distant. He didn't try to stop me. Instead, he would just sit there, seemingly unaffected, as though it didn't matter, and that was when I started taking things too far. I didn't just flirt with Alex anymore. I sought him out, looking for reasons to spend more time with him, more excuses to be around him. At first, it was innocent. Coffee breaks, quick chats, and shared laughter. But as the weeks passed, I found myself increasingly drawn to him. I wanted more than just attention. I wanted validation, something that had been missing from my life for far too long. I convinced myself that it didn't mean anything, that I wasn't betraying Michael, that I was just looking for a bit of excitement in an otherwise dull life. But then it happened. One night, after yet another dull evening with Michael, I found myself alone with Alex. We talked, we laughed, we drank wine, and then I kissed him. It wasn't something I had planned, but it felt like a release. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt alive. And as I pulled away from him, I saw the look in his eyes. He wanted more, and I did too. So I let myself fall into it, into the chaos of desire, into the excitement of feeling wanted. The guilt came almost immediately, but it didn't stop me. I told myself that it was just a mistake, a one-time thing, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. The more I kissed him, the more I wanted to, the more I needed to feel alive, to feel wanted. It wasn't about Alex anymore. It was about me. It was about the way I felt about myself, about the way I was letting my insecurities dictate my actions. But no matter how much I told myself that it wasn't serious, I knew I was making a huge mistake. Still, I kept going. The lies, the distance, the secret. I convinced myself that it was worth it, that I would find the answers I needed. One night, after another long day, I came home late, expecting Michael to be asleep. But he wasn't. He was sitting on the couch, staring at his phone, and when he looked up, I saw the exhaustion in his eyes. But it wasn't just physical. It was emotional exhaustion. He had been carrying the weight of our broken relationship for far too long, and I hadn't even realized it. He asked where I had been, and without thinking, I lied. I told him I was out with a friend. But even as the words left my mouth, I could feel the guilt eating away at me. I had already crossed the line, and now I was lying to cover up the mess I had created. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what I had done, what I had lost, and what I was about to lose. I had tested Michael's love, and now I was waiting for a reaction. Something, anything to tell me that he still cared. But nothing came. No anger, no shouting, no begging for forgiveness. Just silence. The next day, I found out that he had been talking to a lawyer. He wanted a divorce. I remember standing in the kitchen, staring at the floor, unable to process what was happening. How had I let it get this far? How had I allowed my insecurities to destroy everything I had? Michael didn't yell or cry. He just looked at me with sadness in his eyes. I love you, Emily, he said quietly. But love isn't a test. And I won't play games with you. I wanted to explain, to beg him to stay, to tell him that I was sorry, that I never meant for any of this to happen. But the words wouldn't come. I had tested him and he had passed. By leaving, the days that followed were filled with regret, confusion, and pain. I reached out to Alex, hoping he would comfort me, that he would fill the void left by Michael. But he didn't. Instead, he told me he had started seeing someone else. Someone younger, someone without the baggage I brought into the relationship. I had used him, and now I was left with nothing. Now, as I sit here, I realize the truth. I had tested Michael's love, and in doing so, I pushed him away. I had used Alex as a distraction, not because I loved him, but because I couldn't face the pain of realizing that I had let my insecurities destroy something real. I had lost everything I had ever wanted, all because I didn't trust the love that was right in front of me. Love isn't a test. It's something you build, something you nurture. I failed to see that. And now I'm left with nothing but the painful realization that the love I was testing was the one thing I needed the most. And in testing it, I lost it forever.